Everlasting Chapter 24. Leaving the house was so easy that Winnie felt faintly shocked. She had half expected that the instant she put a foot on the stairs, they would leap from their beds and surround her with accusations, but no one stirred. And she was struck by the realization that if she chose, she could slip out night after night without their knowing. The thought made her feel more guilty than ever, and that she should once more take advantage of their trust. But tonight, this one last time, she had to. There was no other way. She opened the door and slipped out into the heavy August night. Leaving the cottage was like leaving something real and moving into a dream. Her body felt weightless and she seemed to float down the path to the gate. Jesse was there, waiting. None of them spoke. I bet their adrenaline is really pumping right now, huh? He took her hand and they ran together, lightly down the road past other sleeping cottages into the dim and empty center of the village. The big glass windows were lidded eyes that didn't care. They barely saw them, barely gave them back reflections. The blacksmith shop, the mill, the church, and the stores, so busy and alive in daylight, were hunched, deserted now, dark piles and shapes without purpose or meaning. And then ahead, Winnie saw the jailhouse, its new wood still unpainted, lamplight spilling through a window at the front. And there, in the cleared yard behind it, like a great L upside down, was the gallows. The sky flashed white, but this time it wasn't heat lightning. For a few moments later, a low mumble, still far away, announced at last the coming storm. A fresh little breeze lifted Winnie's hair, and from somewhere in the village behind them, a dog barked. Two shadows detached themselves from the gloom as Winnie and Jesse came up. Tuck pulled her to him and hugged her hard, and Miles squeezed her hand. No one said a word. And then the four of them crept to the back of the building. Here, too high for Winnie to see into, was a barred window through which, from the room in front, light glowed faintly. Winnie peered up at it, at the blackness of the bars with the dim gold of the light between. Into her head came lines from an old poem. Stone walls do not a prison make, nor iron bars a cage. Over and over the lines repeated themselves in her head till they were altogether meaningless. Another roll of thunder sounded. The storm was moving nearer. Then Miles was standing on a box. He was pouring oil around the frame of the window. You're going? Okay. A swirl of wind brought the thick, rich smell of it down to Winnie's nostrils. Tuck handed up a tool to Miles and began to pry at the nails securing the window frame. Just take a book with you and finish it. Miles knew carpentering. Miles could do the job. Winnie shivered and held tight to Jesse's hand. One nail was free. Another. Tuck reached up to receive them as they came out one by one. A fourth nail screeched as it was pried up, and Miles poured on more oil. From the front of the jailhouse, the constable yawned noisily and began to whistle. The whistling came nearer. Miles dropped down. They heard the constable's footsteps coming up to May's cell. The barred door clanked, then the footsteps receded, and the whistling grew fainter. An inner door shut, and the lamp glow disappeared. At once, Miles was up again, prying at the nails. An eighth was out, a ninth, a 10th. Winnie counted carefully, while behind her counting, her mind sang, "Stone walls do not a prison make." Miles handed down the prying tool. He grasped the bars of the window firmly, ready to pull, and he stood, poised. What is he waiting for, thought Winnie. Why doesn't he... And then a flash of lightning, and soon after, a crack of thunder. In the midst of the noise, Miles gave a mighty heave, but the window did not budge. Do you notice how he waited for the thunder to roll, and then he pulled because it might be noisy? The thunder ebbed. Winnie's heart sank. What if it was all impossible? What if the window would never come out? What if? She looked over her shoulder at the dark shape of the gallows and shuddered. Again a flash of lightning, and this time a crashing burst of noise from the swirling sky. Miles yanked. The window frame sprang free, and still grasping it by the bars, he tumbled backward off the box. The job was done. 2 arms appeared in the hole left by the missing frame. May! Her head appeared. It was too dark to see her face. The window. What if it was too small for her to squeeze through? What if... But now her shoulders were out, and she groaned softly. Another flash of lightning lit her face for an instant, and Winnie saw an expression there of deep concentration, tip of the tongue protruding, brows furrowed. Remember, May's kind of a big lady, so they said she's a potato of a lady, so it's going to be kind of hard to pull her through this window. Now Tuck was on the box, helping her, giving her his own shoulders to pull on, Miles and Jessie close at his sides, arms upstretched, eager to receive her bulk. Her hips were free. Now look out! Here she came, her skirts tearing on the rough edges of the boards, arms flailing, and they were all in a heap on the ground. Another crash of thunder muffled Jessie's bursting, exultant laugh. May was free. Winnie clasped her trembling hands thankfully, and then the first drop of rain plopped precisely on the tip of her nose. The Tucks untangled themselves and turned to her, one by one as the rain began. They drew her to them and kissed her. One by one she kissed them back. Was it the rain on May's face, on Tuck's, or was it tears? Jessie was last. He put his arms around her and hugged her tight and whispered the single word, remember. Then Miles was on the box again, lifting her in. Her hands grasped the edges of the window. This time she waited with him. When the thunder came, it tore the sky apart with its roar, and as it came, she pulled herself through and dropped to the cot inside, unharmed. She looked up at the open square and saw the frame, with Miles' hands holding it. The next obliging roll of thunder saw it wedged in once more into place. And then, would Miles put back the nails? She waited. Rain came in sheets now, riding the wind, flung crosswise through the night. Lightning crackled a brilliant, jagged streak, and thunder rattled the little building. The tension in the parched earth eased and vanished. Winnie felt it go. The muscles of her stomach loosened, and all at once she was exhausted. Still she waited. Would Miles put back the nails? At last, standing tiptoe on the cot, she grasped the bars of the window, pulling herself up till she could just see through. Rain blew into her face, but at the next flash of lightning, looking down, she saw the yard was empty. And before the thunder followed, in a pause while wind and rain held back for one brief moment, she thought she heard, fading in the distance, the tinkling little melody of the music box. The Tucks, her darling Tucks, were gone.